This is going to blow your mind. Lockheed Martin has invented a technology for planes that allows the plane to literally change shape, grow, change color, charge itself without any wires, and also potentially fly autonomously, which for us sounds a lot like what we perceive to be UFOs. They've developed a technology called the skin of an aircraft, and it's not like your traditional paint job that's a protective layer over the plane. This acts like a living organism, and it can literally allow the plane to change shape on demand. It's more of a muscular material. So what happens is the plane has an intuitive ability to sense when the plane needs to change shape. So imagine it'd be like if you had a couch that sensed that you needed a nap, and so it changed into a recliner. This is all possible because of the plane's advanced sensors and data flow that are built into the skin using no wires. It is because of this advanced technology that the plane is also able to change color in seconds and also potentially fly autonomously. They believe these planes will fly in packs and are smart enough to communicate and learn from each other while mid-flight. So next time you're out and you think you're seeing UFOs, you might just be seeing Lockheed Martin testing out this new technology. Also, if they're announcing this technology to the public, it makes you wonder what type of technology is out there being used by the government right now.
Yeah, I can't help but to suspect if they're announcing this now, they've likely been using it for over a decade. And I highly doubt that they ever release information like this simply to inform the public. I'm almost thinking this is probably about to be leaked by somebody. They're just trying to get ahead of it. Think about it. They pretty much just ruined any ability they had of claiming that anything we see in the sky isn't them. Of course, that could be the reasoning behind it as well. They didn't exactly release images of this thing. If anything, they could be releasing this information so they can lay claim to any future aircraft that gets spotted. And if someone gets something on video that they don't want us to know about, they can just claim that this is their craft that's shape-shifting and color-changing. This is pretty impressive technology, though, even if they can't do it specifically to the degree that they're implying they can. Imagine flying your fighter jet into the airspace of the enemy, and with a flip of a switch, now your plane looks just like theirs does. They wouldn't be comfortable shooting you down even if they suspected that that's what was going on, because what if they were wrong? Or they could just be releasing this information to kind of put all these other countries on notice that their airspace is completely indefensible now. What do y'all think?
These people have invested so much money on finding every excuse they can to try and get us, in the case of digital ID, get us to voluntarily want to adopt it. And we have to focus on the fact that if digital ID does not succeed and people do not comply, it will fail. I mean, it is the cornerstone of like the entire UN Agenda 2030. Without it, the programmable surveillable money won't work. A lot of their designs for what they want to do in the online virtual world will not work. And so much of it will not work if we do not comply with digital ID, and they're trying to force it on us as a voluntary thing. Sort of in the same way that passports were voluntary. Which is why I encourage people, if you want to change the direction the world is going, you need to figure out how you are going to set up your life so you don't have to comply with digital ID the same way. Maybe if you were forced to comply with mandates and passports, how will you get around those type of restrictions when they try and impose, digital ID on people for various reasons? As I said earlier, before it was about, the and all of that. Now in the U.S., conservatives mainly are being pitched as this is a solution to illegal migration. This is a solution to voter fraud and all of this stuff. There's efforts to frame biometric digital ID as essential to solving cybercrime and hacking and cyberbullying and any other normal of essentially any ill of society. They're just going to say digital ID is going to be the solution to that. And they're sales pitches. But ultimately, if the digital ID is essential to the whole idea of the social credit score and any of these other, Orwellian designs that, at least enough people I hope know by now, is part and parcel of this agenda. And I think, again, it comes up to people having to make a choice. And the way they do this is through, they try and get us to comply with this is through convenience. It's convenience to opt in. It's convenient to have a digital ID. it's convenient to have, money on your phone and have your whole life be based on your smartphone and all of this. It's convenient to vote once every 4 years for one of the two lesser evils in all of this. But really, it's the convenience that they're using to enslave us. And it's inconvenient to find ways to opt out of these systems and change your life so that you're more resilient and your life is actually sustainable for you and your family and your community. It's perhaps inconvenient to get off of the couch and off of the chair and go meet your neighbors physically and stop being on the online world so much, and making real human connections and real human solutions to the problems we're facing. Because, again, that's why during the lockdowns, I think, were a big part of it, to keep people isolated, to keep people from connecting and force people to feel like they could only connect with others through this virtual world that these people control. Because they control the infrastructure, the software, and the platforms. So I think, people need to consider that this convenience is really the carrot. Maybe there will be a stick at some point, but they seem to be focused a lot on the carrot and the idea of having us voluntarily adopt these things because it's easy, the way they're setting things up, or it will be easy. Or they'll frame it that way at least. But I think it's very important for people to realize that they have the power. Otherwise, they wouldn't be investing all this money to manipulate us and pitch us on this. And we should take the power back as people. And we do that by taking actions in our own lives and doing things in our neighborhoods and our communities and with our families. And realizing that this is not where we want to go at the end of the day. And there is so much we can do. And I think a good starting point, again, is to say no to digital ID. We don't need this biometric digital ID surveillance state that's going to be used not just to surveil what we're doing in real time, but also to predict what we might do in the future. A lot of these plans on the books and things that are being developed by these intelligence agencies are all about predictive policing, meaning pre-crime, and also applying that same methodology to healthcare. Prevent the next pandemic before it happens and all of this stuff. So you don't even need to declare a pandemic anymore to get emergency use authorization or mandates in particular communities and stuff like that. That is the world they are setting up. It is very bad, and we should opt out, and we can opt out.
This is the only way we stop this nonsense right here. Everyone has to refuse to comply. I liken it to the Obamacare failure. They just assumed that everyone was going to get on board and immediately go sign up for Obamacare. They thought that all the premiums being paid by the younger, healthier portion of the population would be able to foot the bill for the older, more sickly portion of the population. What they failed to take into account was that the younger, healthier portion of the population doesn't really have a sense of urgency when it comes to even signing up for healthcare. They didn't really have a motive for signing up. When you're young, you think there's no chance anything bad can happen to you. You think you're just going to live in perfect health forever. So all they got was just the sick signing up, a bunch of people who actually had an immediate healthcare need, and the whole thing got overwhelmed. And there weren't enough premiums coming in to make it sustainable. And I know it was a little more complicated than that, but that was the basic gist of it. But likewise, if we just get enough people to refuse to comply with this, the whole system won't be able to sustain itself. And I don't really have a lot of hope that enough people are going to refuse to comply simply out of concern for their own well-being, but there are certainly enough procrastinators in this country that we may actually get lucky on this one. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to drop your comments and your theories in the comment section down below.
Shaquille O'Neal was just spotted with somebody who was very, very young. He attended her 21st birthday party, who is now in the you-know-what industry, okay? This might be shocking to the rest of you, but it's not to me at all. All you're seeing is repetitive behavior. Let me explain. Right here is Shaquille O'Neal. Do you know who this man is right here? This is Hollywood real estate agent, Danny Fitzgerald. Danny Fitzgerald doesn't just rent his Hollywood mansions out to celebrities, TikTok hype house creators, those in the other industry, and influencers. He also really, really likes beauty pageants, okay? He attends all of them. So all of you making content exposing you-know-who used to work in the pageant industry, being involved in what I'm about to tell you now, dig a little deeper on this guy, and you might find some connections. Now for this next part, you might want to put on some earmuffs, okay? Trigger warning, right off the bat. Not only that, but Danny Fitzgerald is still going through pending lawsuits alleging that he was the co-conspirator of Peter Nygaard, the fashion mogul who went from this to this in the span of a year. The man who claimed to have all the rap guys, sports players, and church leaders, feel free to screenshot, who had 7,500 women and children in his database. What was he doing?
He was obsessed, Peter Nygaard was, with stem cell research and anything that he could get his hands on to preserve his health and youth and to create longevity. And according to many people involved in the investigation, he actually would impregnate underage girls, have them get, and then harvest the stem cells of the fetuses to inject in himself under the belief that it would be more beneficial than random stem cells from another.
And if Peter Nygaard just so happens to have internet in the prison that he's rotting in, I'm sure these headliners are ticking him off. And it never fails, you guys. Every time I post an image of a celebrity who is aging backwards or looking nothing like they ever did before, you guys are all telling me it's Botox or plastic surgery. No. Their skin texture is changing. It's reversing in youth. The only way that you can do that is by what? Replacing your dying cells in your body. It's the entire reason why we age to begin with. And it just so happens that the family who looks the youngest in Hollywood have plastic surgeons like Dr. Garth Fisher, whose wife is Sue Lynn Manderos, who was the madam / co-conspirator of Peter Nygaard, who somehow isn't sitting in prison for feeding victims to Peter Nygaard in exchange for stem cell injections, cash, and plastic surgery. You know how it goes. If you want the truth about what is going on in this industry and the things the media does not talk about, go down this rabbit hole.
Have you all noticed there are essentially two trends going on in Hollywood right now? There seems to be a ton of these people who suddenly look 20 years younger than they did 12 months ago. At the same time, you have a bunch of women who are fairly young still, who all of a sudden look like they're morphing into Slender Man. They're dropping a ton of weight. They're getting these creepily long, skinny fingers that look like they're something straight out of a horror movie. I think the stem cell thing is a good, reasonable explanation for the youthful appearance of all these celebrities that really ought to only be playing grandparents at their age. But I'm still trying to figure out what's causing this other trend. I'm curious to know what theories you all have. I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and the only thing I can think of is that it must be some sort of side effect from something they're all taking. Like maybe all that Ozempic everyone was taking in Hollywood not too long ago is finally starting to rear its side effects. But then there are people with these side effects who never would have had a need to take Ozempic. But it literally looks like some of these celebrities are turning into aliens or something. What are y'all's theories on this one? I need a direction to dig in.
A mother named Sandy was staying with her daughter in Phoenix Children's Hospital in Arizona when her daughter suddenly started communicating with something in the room.
Okay, go. Who is it?
It's so weird.
Is it you?
Is it me? It's not me.
It's motion sensor. There's no one over there. Okay, do it one more time.
Do it one more time, please.
Okay. One last time.
You okay? So do it if you're a guy. Turn it on if you're a guy.
Nope.
So you're a girl. You're a girl. Are you? So she's a girl.
And just for show, let's see if it comes on right here. I'm right here.
Okay.
Nothing. Does your name start with a A? Does your name start with a B?
I want to do the question ask.
Okay. No.
Your name starts with a B? Is it Brianna?
Brittany. Is your name Brittany?
Is it Bianca?
That's a weird name.
I don't know. It's what
Came to mind?
Yeah.
Bianca? Are you 5? Are you 6? 7?
8.
9. You're 9? You're 9 years old?
This entity, claiming to be a 9-year-old girl named Bianca, communicates with her daughter by turning the tap on to answer questions. Everything seemed like a wholesome moment, but all of a sudden the room goes cold and the spirit stops responding.
So she's 9.
You're 9, correct?
Are you still here?
Did you leave?
She then decides to FaceTime her dad to tell her about what happened. And as she prepares to go home, she asks one final question, if it will come with her. Then this happens.
Are you gonna come with me? You're gonna be with me?
Suddenly, the spirit replies to her last question after not responding, letting her know that it will come with her and be with her. Then the tap quickly stops, and we see a shadow moving towards her daughter. Her father on the video call said he could hear static on the phone.
What noise, baby?
No, it sounds like static on my phone.
Does it? Can you do a screen recording?
I don't know why it sounds like that. It sounds like static here on my phone.
After this, a man in the comments reached out saying his niece matched those details and passed away in this very same hospital, and all her organs were donated.
First off, they didn't catch a ghost shadow crossing that curtain there at the end. If you go back and watch the beginning of that video again, you can clearly see whenever she pans the camera from the bed over to the faucet at the beginning, that curtain is covering up a window and a sliding glass door that looks out into the hallway of the facility. You even see another shadow crossing it earlier in the video, and at the angle that the camera's pointed at the time, you can even see the shadow on the floor and the shoes of the person walking behind it. So as far as that last shadow goes, I think that was just convenient timing. But the faucet kicking on and off, I thought that was pretty interesting. And the guy claiming that his 9-year-old niece Bianca passed away in that very room made it much more intriguing. I just wish they would have confirmed that somehow. Like if her name was on that Tree of Life display like the guy claimed, I wish someone would have went back and got an image of that. Knowing that can be verified though, makes it a little more difficult for me to believe that somebody's making that up. Especially considering that they're the ones who attempted to give away to verify that information. I guess now we just got to sit back and wait and see if we start getting more videos of that little girl and her mom being haunted once they get home. But that one was pretty cool.
If gravity is fake, why are tides the same worldwide every day?
That's the question no science teacher, no NASA spokesperson, and no textbook has ever given a straight answer to. We've been told the moon's gravity pulls the oceans, but think about this. If the moon's gravity is strong enough to tug at trillions of tons of water, shouldn't it also tug at your drink, or your body, or the clouds above your head? Nobody feels it, nobody sees it, and still, we're told to believe that invisible force is responsible for tides on every shore. What if tides aren't about gravity at all, but about cycles, resonance, and design? What if the oceans move in a pattern set from above, like a giant heartbeat pulsing under the flat Earth itself? Ancient cultures tracked tides with uncanny accuracy. Long before anyone talked about gravity, they saw the waters responding to the heavens, not being pulled by an invisible rope. Take this. Sailors of old navigated entire voyages by tides and stars. They didn't need satellites or Newton's equations. They knew that when the moon rose, waters changed, not because it was dragging them like a magnet, but because the world was built with rhythms that never fail. The globe story reduces it all to chance and force. But maybe it's not force, maybe it's law. A law written into creation itself. So the real question isn't why do tides happen, it's why do they happen everywhere, every day, with mathematical precision, if they're controlled by a force that no one can measure directly? If you tugged on something from 240,000 miles away, could you really expect it to move like clockwork forever? Maybe the tides are proof we live in a designed system, not a spinning accident. Proof that the Earth isn't a chaotic globe, but a stable, flat plane where oceans obey an order we've only begun to question. And now, it's on you. Do you still trust the story you were handed in school? Or do you feel that pull inside, the one whispering that the tides are trying to tell you something? Because if tides can move without gravity, what else have we been wrong about?
I'm not really sure where I land as far as like a theory for what causes the tides, but I do know I don't accept the mainstream explanation. There's a really interesting theory called the electric universe theory. That theory claims that the sun and the moon interact with the earth electrically, and that plasma or electromagnetic forces, not gravity, push and pull on the tides. And according to mainstream science itself, electromagnetic forces in space are real. They just claim that they're much too weak to produce global tidal patterns. However, considering all the effort they go through to convince us that there's not a usable amount of electricity just floating around overhead, I kind of see how people get on board with that theory. It kind of makes sense. And I haven't really dug into that idea enough to even make a determination on how much sense it makes. I'm speaking just at face value. But if the claim is that that can't be true because there's not enough current in the atmosphere, that makes me think it's at least worth digging into. But what are y'all's theories for what causes the tides? I'm sure I haven't heard them all.
I like to ask evolutionists, I say, guys, your geologic column contains limestone quite a few places. If I handed you a piece of limestone, how would you know if it's 100 million year old Jurassic limestone or 600 million year old Cambrian limestone? I mean, exactly what's the difference? They'd say, well, the only way to tell the difference is by the index fossils. That's precisely my point. They date the layers by the fossils. This textbook shows the kids a trilobite, and it says, boys and girls, trilobites make good index fossils. If a trilobite is found in a rock layer, the rock layer probably formed 500 to 600 million years ago. I don't think so. Somebody found a human shoe print where the guy with a shoe on had stepped on and smashed a trilobite. They asked evolutionists all over, how on earth could a human step on a trilobite? If trilobites lived 500 million years ago and man didn't get here till, 3 million years ago, and they didn't start wearing shoes till 10,000 years ago, how could a human step on a trilobite? One atheist said, well, it's obviously, the only answer would be that aliens visited the planet 500 million years ago. Oh, them aliens will do it every time. Another guy said, well, maybe there was a large trilobite shaped like a shoe that fell on a small one. Now, there are some big trilobites, okay, but I don't think they're shaped like a shoe. Actually, the trilobite has the most complicated eyeball ever. Trilobite eyes are unbelievable. And this is one of the first creatures to evolve, and it already has the most complex eye, just the eye is one of the most complex features you could have. Now, trilobites are not index fossils for anything, okay? There are all kinds of different types of trilobites, and there probably are some still alive today. Certainly the Baltic isopod is still alive. A guy sent me a couple weeks ago, about a couple months ago, I guess, a whole jar full of trilobites from the Prudhoe Bay water treatment plant up there for the oil factory they've got, oil refining rig. When they arrived in Pensacola, Florida, they were still alive in the jar. But I don't know how to keep a trilobite alive. I mean, you give it mouth to what, some resuscitation, but they all died, but we got them in our museum there. Somebody just sent me a large one that they got down in the Caribbean, about this big, it's in our museum, and it was frozen. They said, yeah, I pulled it off the rock myself down in the Caribbean, still alive. They call it some kind of roach. Roach, it looks like a big trilobite. This textbook shows the kids a graptolite. It says, boys and girls, this is 410 million years old. I don't think so. Graptolites were found still alive in the South Pacific 10 years ago. So if you find graptolite, you can't use that as an index fossil for any age rock, okay? They tell the kids in school the lobe-finned fish is the index fossil for Devonian, 325 million years old. See that short leg, boys and girls? He's got a little bitty leg and then the fin. See, that proves he's evolving from a leg to a fin. No, that's a lie. The lobe-finned fish are still alive today. They're swimming around the Indian Ocean. And when they caught the first one in 1938, the scientists looked at it and said, wow, would you look at that? They survived for 325 million years. It never dawned on them once to question the geologic column. That thought never crossed their brain. You don't question the geologic column. It is holy and sacred. You just have to say it survived for 325 million years. It's in the textbooks today. And they still say it's the index fossil for 325 million year old rock, even though they know they're swimming around the ocean. How can they be that dumb? This lady wrote a book about it, A Fish Caught in Time. She says, boys and girls, this is our own great uncle, 40 million times removed.
So according to geologists, the only way to tell the age of a piece of limestone is to look at the fossils inside of it. Then they guess the age based on what fossils it contains. And how do they know how old the fossils are? That one's easy. They just check to see what layer of limestone it was pulled out of. Is it not obvious to everyone else the extreme example of circular reasoning being implemented here? This is one of the most frustrating examples of how the most educated man in the room is not always the most intelligent man in the room. People go to school for years to study this stuff, and they become so indoctrinated in these ideas that they can't even think logically anymore. And they omit evidence that would make them question what they were taught in school simply because it doesn't support what they were taught in school. And these are our experts that the rest of us turn to whenever we need to know something. It's ridiculous. Now, before we go on to this next clip, it is a bit long, but someone actually tracked down the guy from the 911 call from yesterday's video and did an interview with him. I just thought you all would enjoy it as much as I did.
Hi guys, it's Rusty. I'm about to interview the young man that was driving the truck the night of the frantic 911 call. T, finally I get a chance to meet you. I gotta tell you, I heard the 911 call a couple of months ago, actually. And it's been a little bit of a challenge to, get the sheriff's schedule, my schedule, and finally now we've got your schedule all worked out so that we can talk to you and get you to tell your story. Obviously we're not going to share your name or your face. Totally understand that. But after talking with you, clearly your voice is the voice that's on that 911 call. So, if you would just start wherever you want to. We want to hear the whole story.
So,
take as much time as you need.
I guess I'll start from the beginning of the trip. I was coming up from Florida to visit my family. At the time I was going to a trade school down there, and when I was driving up here to where the incident occurred by the battlefield, it was already easily well into the morning. I wasn't looking at my phone. I just know it was pitch black outside, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see the moon, stars, nothing, just barely the road through my headlights. And I had my window down because the AC wasn't working the best. And as I was coming around, there's a massive right curve right there before you cross the Black River, and then after that you have the battlefield. So on that massive black curve, as I'm coming around, I had just started the curve and I was about a third of the way through it, and I look over into the ditch on my right because I caught a quick glimpse of something, and as I take a further look, it looks like there's I'd say probably a 30-something-year-old man standing in that ditch wearing what looks like an old Civil War uniform, just covered head to toe in blood. And the uniform was torn as well. That threw me off because I didn't expect to see it at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm calling 911 after I see him to report that, because for all I know, it could have just been a normal guy that was injured and needed emergency help. It looked like what had happened is he hit his head on something.
Okay.
And the blood was just pooling down over his face and torso.
Okay.
And well, as I was calling, everything seemed perfectly normal. Just quick phone call to 911, let them know, hey, there's a guy out here, and try to find somewhere safe to park so that way I can take them to him. Well, as you know from the 911 call, right as soon as I reported that, I already had my window up at that point. All of a sudden, I heard a massive bang on my truck, and my truck bounced down from the rear, like I was pulling a heavy trailer and I hit a pothole.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there going, what the hell was that? Which I'm pretty sure you heard me yell, what the hell? I turned on my my bed light, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and all I saw was this white, snow white face right up against my rear windshield, like it was looking into my truck trying to see what it could see. It had shallow sunken eyes. It had no nose. Just think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it thin. Couldn't see any ears, just that. And immediately I just started screaming. I didn't realize until afterwards that I had said that's not human on the call, because it was just the first thing I started screaming, because I was terrified. I didn't have my firearm with me, nothing. All I had was a wood splitting axe. So that's all I had. So, and my truck is loud as is, and it picks up speed fairly easily. Well, my truck at the time, it had a gas-powered 6-liter V8 Vortec on it, and it was a proper dual exhaust, hence why I had the window up, because that truck is nice and loud.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing in between like 55, 60 miles an hour when this happens, and I just stomped on the gas for a second. When I looked at the speedometer before I slammed on my brakes, I was doing maybe 80. And I slammed on those brakes with all my might, and I went from like 80 miles an hour down to like 35 in just like a couple of seconds. And all I see is this super scrawny long body just fly over my truck in a ball rolling. And as I then swerve to the left and get back in the travel lane, and I floor it. And as I'm swerving to the left, I see it stand up, and it is easily taller than that truck.
No way.
I'm 5'10". The truck is about 2 inches taller than I am. And this thing was easily like maybe 7 feet.
Wow.
And as I'm past it, I look in my mirror and I see it bolt to the left into the woods, and it looked like some, I don't even know what because it looked like somebody took a normal human and stretched them out, starting with the limbs.
Wow.
It like abnormally long legs and arms, and it just took off into the woods. And I just said, nope, I'm out of here. I'm not staying to figure out what this is. And there's a gas station all the way at the corner where the highway intersects. And I pulled into that gas station. I was doing like 90 all the way to that gas station, because that was the only place with any light that I saw.
Right.
And I just stopped in that parking lot and waited like 10, 15 minutes for state troopers to show up. Well, next thing I know, the state troopers show up at the gas station, and I'm just staring back at that road to make sure that it's not coming back.
Right.
So I tell them what happened. They proceed to look at my truck, look in the bed of the truck, look on top of the cab, and on top of the cab, clear as day, you can see like it was scratching trying to get into my truck.
Really?
Or when it initially hit, another way to look at it is when it hit the back of the truck and landed in the bed, like it had latched onto the hood for a second and scraped trying to balance itself.
Yeah.
And you could see that clear as day. I mean, there was a couple of scratches from like squirrels and tree branches, but those stuck out because it looked like it had landed like this and just ripped backwards. And well, they asked me to take them approximately where it happened. And I mean, when it's the middle of the night and you're going the opposite direction of where you just came, your sense of direction's a little off.
Right.
So I took them back to approximately where I believe it was, because I couldn't see. I didn't remember any landmarks because I was going from the other way. But there was an S curve, and I think I took them. I think I might have taken them on accident to the S curve, but the incident happened before that S curve, because I hit that S curve going about 65 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. I still remember the jolt of the truck, the fear, everything. I remember pretty much everything just in that one moment. I looked at the truck the next morning. Sure enough, scratch marks are right there on the roof of the truck.
What were the reaction of the law enforcement officers that showed up?
The law enforcement officers, when they showed up, they were skeptical. although now they might not be as much. But at the time, the troopers especially seemed skeptical. Parks and Wildlife, when they flew the drone, they seemed more curious than anything, and EMS was more like, okay, are you okay? And they went and looked for the other guy and couldn't find him.
So the state patrol were there.
Yes.
EMS.
Yes.
Wildlife.
and the
sheriff's department.
Yes.
I guess, because we interviewed the sheriff, so
Yes.
he had deputies out.
And I think one of them might have broken off after the initial contact with me. But I know one of them was with me. I was still in fight or flight when they told me, hey, can you go back and show us? Because I do not want to go back at all.
I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you.
I still refuse to drive through that area at night because I don't know what I saw. I don't ever want to see it again.
So apparently the photo that I put up as this guy T in yesterday's video was not actually him. I got that photo out of a news article that was telling a story about the 911 call, so that's why I assumed that that was correct. But I remember hearing the 911 call yesterday and thinking immediately, this guy sounds like one of the Tate brothers. So this interviewer here definitely has the correct man. I think the reason this whole thing is so intriguing to me is because it actually reminds me of something that I experienced when I was a kid. When I was growing up, my grandparents used to throw this massive anniversary party every single year. We would have all of our family drive in from out of state, and people would set up tents in the yards and campers, and people would pile onto couches and stuff in their house, and everyone would just hang out for several days in a row, singing karaoke, eating barbecue. All the adults would get drunk, and us kids would just run around playing and acting stupid for a few days. But one year, at one of these anniversary get-togethers, when I was about 11 or 12 years old, one of my uncles loaded all of us kids up into the bed of my grandfather's truck and was going to run us to town to catch Dairy Queen before they closed and get everybody ice cream. This would have been just before about 9 p.m. at night, so it was well past dark. We pulled out of the driveway, took a right, and we couldn't have been more than about 30 seconds up the road, and one of the kids in the bed of the truck where I was sitting started to scream. So we all look in that direction just in time to see this massive, I can only say an elongated, like stretched out looking animal jumped completely over the bed of the truck. I think I've told this story here before in one of my much earlier videos. But whatever it was, it actually smacked one of the kids in the side of the head whenever it cleared the truck. When I initially heard that 911 call in the last video, it instantly made me think of that. That was one of the most terrifying experiences that I had as a kid. That thing could have easily grabbed one of us kids and just run off with us, and no one would have been able to do anything about it. But I say that to say, I 100% believe this guy. There are things out there that we just don't know about. But based on his description, it sounds to me like he came into contact with a demon or something. But I'd love to hear y'all's theories. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to leave your comments and your theories in the comment section down below. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you all tomorrow.